Stepping out, it's Friday night. How I'm longing for this day. Yes, I'm single. Oh, we won't do mingle.
I guess because I'm okay so far, like nothing is going wrong. Baby's, thank God, like healthy, good heartbeat, progressing well. I just accidentally mentioned the baby's sex, so I'll bleep that out. But the baby is measuring longer. So every time I go in for an ultrasound, which so far, I've only had, since I started seeing the high risk OB, I've only had three. But anyway, I've had 3 ultrasounds, and every time I go, the baby is measuring about a week ahead. So that baby is growing nice and strong. So nothing's been going on really that is of concern, I suppose, which is why perhaps the doctor is so laxed. But I don't know. I kind of feel like, when you go to a doctor, you kind of just want to be nurtured. Even if it's not, I don't need you to be with me for like an hour, but can you spend more than 5 minutes talking to me? I don't know. Kind of feel that way. So what is your this is from 80s, 90s, Mama Nostalgia. 80s, 90s, Mama Nostalgia asks, what is your donor's ethnicity? And how many kids would you like to have? So my donor's ethnicity is Caucasian, of like the Eurasian, kind of area. So I tried, when I was looking for donors, I didn't have a specific ethnicity in mind. But one thing you want to keep in mind, if you are using clinics, at least the ones I looked at, a lot of the donors were Caucasian, and there were some people who were multi-ethnic. So I remember seeing someone who was African American and Italian. And I saw actually the other ethnicity that I saw a lot of outside of Caucasian was Asian. And then, there were some people that were multi-ethnic, and then the least amount of people were African American or, just Black descent. So, and it just so happens that, the people that I found most interesting and things like that, there were a variety of people, but generally the top 3 were of like European or just Caucasian descent. So, yes, baby daddy is white, and that's it. My family is multi-ethnic, so I'm not worried that there'll be any stigma within my family at all, or that this baby will be treated differently at all. So yeah, that's that. How many kids would I like to have? I would like to have 2, but with my advanced maternal age and just with, the amount of time that I'm taking off, I just don't think that I will be able to give birth to another child. And then I may consider adoption, but again, it comes down to finances, because it's not cheap either to adopt a child. It's not easy. There's a lot of red tape. So I would like to have 2. I hope for 2. But we'll see. I'll be happy with 1 happy, healthy baby. But I would like, because I am an only child, I would like for my child to have a sibling. And just to understand sort of like, be in the same shoes and have each other in a way. Yeah, so hope for 2. From Brianna Star 85, are you scared of labor, and how do you plan to cope with life changes after the baby is born? As of now, I'm not scared of labor. I've been obsessed with giving birth for the longest time. Like, my favorite pastime, although I haven't done it recently, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's like self-preservation. But I was for a long time just like obsessed with watching birthing videos on YouTube and so on. And I remember watching the most interesting one was this woman who was in the middle of, I don't know where, but it was very like, it looked like almost like a jungle scene, who went and gave birth by a river, or like even in the river. So, I mean, I've seen it all, and I know things can happen, during labor and birth, but I really want to give birth naturally, and like that's what I would prefer to do. But again, I know things don't always go that way. But for now, I'm not scared. I'm excited. I guess maybe the closer I get, because it's unknown to me, even though I've seen other people go through it online or whatever, it's not the same as like you going through it. So maybe when I get closer to the due date, I'll start to worry. But for now, I'm excited to go through it and to experience that. So yeah. And how will I cope with the changes after the baby is born? So luckily, again, I have so much support. My mom is planning on taking some time off to stay home with me, to help me, and just to acclimate to everything, and to help me get some sleep, hopefully. So I'll have that support, but she has to go back to work. She can't take forever off. She'll be off for a couple of weeks. But then after that, I'll be home alone with the baby. So, I mean, I'll have family and friend, like emotional support, but in terms of actual physical help outside of my mom and, like my mom's best friend, who's like a family member to us, like she'll maybe stop by and like, I know even when we're sick or whatever, she helps us out and like maybe might make a meal or something. So I know I'll have like support around me, but I'll essentially be responsible for, caring for the baby, especially after my mom goes back to work. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I've been, it's never the same as your own kids, but I've been around kids and taking care of kids since I was 15. I don't know if you know, maybe I didn't share this, but I dropped out of high school, and at some point I was helping to take care of my cousin's daughter, and like I had her most of the day. I had her for like maybe 16, 18 hours a day. She was, from the time she was like 9 months on or whatever, maybe not every day, but I had her a lot. And then a friend of mine, I helped her take care of her son from day one. Like we lived in the same house, so like I've been around kids. I know it's hard and exhausting, but I kind of feel like I'll be okay. So on Instagram, when I posted, I also said to people, like, if they wanted to remain anonymous, to inbox me. So I have a couple of anonymous questions. The first question is, will I be finding out the gender of the baby? And I already know. I thought about waiting, but that is so not me. I'm not about surprises. Just tell me what it is, and I want to know. So actually, I'll tell you how I found out. So I found out, again, I don't know if you watched my previous video recently, but I had a blood test done to check and see if like the baby had any kind of chromosomal issues or perhaps would have, Down syndrome. So while they're testing for those chromosomal markers or indicators or whatever, I could also discover the gender. So the midwife actually, because it was my first appointment after seeing my reproductive endocrinologist, she said to me like, you can also find out the gender of the baby. Would you like us to tell you along with the results when they come in? And I immediately was like, yes, please. She's like, are you sure? Because like, if you're not sure, like we won't tell you. And I said, no, I definitely want to know. So I waited and waited for these results. And finally, it was a little bit over 2 weeks later, I called them because I hadn't heard anything back. So I called the office, and I'm like, please, if these results come in, I need to know. And everything, of course, came back, well, not of course, but everything came back fine. And thank God. And then I said, okay, do you also have the gender information? And the nurse said yes. And initially I asked because my friends wanted, I'm so not into reveals. And I want to do one for my channel just because I know other people are into them, but I'm so not into them. And so my friends wanted to do a gender reveal, and they wanted me to like get the results, put in it, have them put it in an envelope, give it to my friends so they could do like a cake or do whatever. But when I called, I asked about that, and the nurse said, yes, but we can't mail it to you. You'd have to come pick up the envelope. And at this point, I was working a lot, so I'm in Brooklyn. My doctor's office is a half hour away from my home, which is further out. And I just thought I'm never going to have a chance to go pick up this envelope because they don't open on Saturdays. So I said, you know what? Screw my friends. I'll surprise them. Like, you need to tell me right now. She's like, are you sure? I said, yes, like, just tell me. And so she told me. And I didn't expect it to be what the nurse said, because I thought I was pregnant with a different gender. But yeah, I was really excited though, even though I was hoping for a different sex. I was really, really excited about finding out and then telling the entire world, except for you guys yet, because I kind of want to do something special for the channel, but I haven't, because it's not my thing. I'm not like a party planner. I don't do fancy things. I'm not creative in that way. So I'm like, oh, what can I do? So if you have suggestions, let me know. And as far as names go, because my mind was on a specific gender, I didn't consider names for the baby for the gender that it is now, or that it is. So I'm having a hard time. So that will be a future video, because I totally need help. Because my family background is like Haitian, French, I kind of want to stick to along the lines of that. Like, I really appreciate like French names. And so I don't know. In the future, I'll make a video and ask you guys for your help on that. So Ciara Land on my Facebook asked me, what did I do to become financially stable so that I can start the process of becoming a single mother by choice? I'll share the video somewhere like up here, but essentially what I did was, I had to really take a hard look at my cost of living, so at the time, before, I made any major decisions, I was living in Brooklyn. I loved my apartment in Brooklyn. I loved living in Brooklyn so much. I miss it. Anyway, I'm flashing back in my head. But I really had to think about what was important to me, what I ultimately wanted to do was become a single mother by choice. And there was no freaking way that in New York City, on a teacher's salary, that I would be able to afford, an apartment, a new baby, and going through the process. Even though I had insurance, and at the time I had no idea insurance could cover this. I found that out much later. But even with my insurance, I just wouldn't be able to afford. Like, I couldn't really save money when I was living on my own, and I was pretty conservative with my money. Of course, I still went out periodically with friends. I still had to have a social life. Like, I didn't move to the city to stay home and twiddle my thumbs, right? Like, I went out and I socialized, but not as much as I would have if I had a bigger salary. So I was on a budget, and so I couldn't afford anything else really. Not to the extent that it takes to go through this process and pay for sperm and shipping and the insemination costs. Even with insurance, it just would not have worked. So I had to think about how can I make this work? I had to get creative, but first I had to really look at my expenses, what was going in, what was coming in, what was going out. And I had to make a decision, and the only, for me, viable way for making it happen was moving home, because then the expense of rent goes out the window. So even though I pay $350 a month for a Long Island Railroad pass to go to work, that's cheaper than the $1,200, and I think I was paying $1,225 for a one bedroom in Brooklyn. So it definitely, I had to make that cut. So that's what I suggest is like, realistically, you have to look at your budget. You also have to think like, what can I live without? To be honest, like, you have to start making sacrifices even before the child comes into your life. You have to think about, what sacrifices can I make financially? Like, maybe I don't go out to eat 3 times a week. Maybe I only do it every other week or something. Just being creative with that and being honest with yourself about what's realistic for you, because in the end, you still have to live your life as you go through this process. You can't lock yourself up in a box and not enjoy your friends and your family and just having somewhat of a social life. That's not healthy. So that's what I suggest, is just financially just taking a hard look at, first of all, also doing your research. So the other thing I did was I did my research. I looked into sperm bank costs, shipping. I looked into, before I knew my insurance would cover me, I looked into how much it would cost me to go to a doctor and get inseminated month after month. And I predicted like how many tries I'd be able to have based on what I thought I could save. And because I knew I wanted to take time off of work, I also was trying to plan for like saving money for that time. And it's not been easy. I'm certainly not where I wish I was, even though I've moved home, just because things come up. And I actually have a vacation coming up soon. I call it my baby moon, and I'm taking it with my friends. I'll share that experience with you guys another time. I haven't taken the trip yet, but I'll tell you all about it at another date. But, I think that's the best thing to do, is to try to be honest with yourself about the finances and see where you can cut corners, or see if, I had to give up my my beautiful apartment. But it's worth it to me, because now I'm expecting a child and I have a lot of support with my family. So it's kind of where I need it to be, and I'm happy about that. So that's my advice, I guess, if that was clear enough. All right, guys, so that is it for today. Thank you so much to everyone on Instagram and Facebook who participated. I really appreciate that. I'll leave the links to those social media platforms down below, so don't forget to like and subscribe to those platforms, as well as my channel here. If you have any questions that I didn't address today, just leave them in the comments. I would love to get back to you or create another video. And if you want to know like which doctor I use because you're in the New York City area and you plan on starting your journey, let me know and I'll get back to you privately. So that's it for me for now, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Stepping out, it's Friday night. How I'm longing for